what point would you, if you were a prominent political figure in Britain, at what point would you start to wonder why you are attracting so many people who appear to subscribe to, and I have to say this, Nazi-esque ideology? Absolutely no suggestion whatsoever that either of these words should be applied to either of the people whose fans almost boast about their sympathy for deporting people like Doreen Lawrence, getting rid of all the Muslims. The AfD, of course, campaigned under a Muslim-free Bavaria at one point in local elections in Germany. I think it's perfectly easy to fall in with people like that by accident, especially if you're incredibly highly educated and you've attended the finest school and universities in the world. Yeah, absolutely, you could accidentally find yourself having dinner with people who want to deport Doreen Lawrence, and through no fault of your own, you could end up with online fan clubs that make Mein Kampf look like Peter and Jane. Absolutely. Nothing to see here. Except for this attempt to conflate the men who write about Muslim women looking like bank robbers, who write about pickaninnies with watermelon smiles, who lie about 80 million Turks being poised to invade Europe, except the men like Boris Johnson. And don't forget that his column, as his own employers contested last week, shouldn't be taken seriously. It's not obviously evidence-based or factual. It's just a bit of sort of comic polemic, they claimed, while failing to fend off action from the regulator, pointing out that he'd talked undiluted twaddle in his column in January, claiming national support for leaving with no deal. So how do we separate the two? Because I don't believe for a minute that what they are claiming is true. That when you point out that Jacob Rees-Mogg has dined with people that want to deport Doreen Lawrence, you are somehow suggesting that all 17.4 million people who voted to leave the European Union are comfortable with that sort of conduct. Everyone I know who voted to leave the European Union would be as disgusted by that sort of conduct, by amplifying the messages of the AfD, by comparing Muslim women to bank robbers. Everyone I know, and I know a lot of people who voted to leave the European Union, on the left and the right, oddly, none of them would like this stuff. So why is it so successful, this attempt to conflate the two? That's what I want to look at. And this you might think I'm being facetious here, but you know me well enough by now to know that I'm not. I would like you to talk to me if you voted to leave the European Union, but you agree with Michael Heseltine and David Lammy when they warn that there are echoes in modern British politics of what went on in Germany in the 1930s. And there's a reason why everyone's picking on Lammy today, partly because obviously the Andrew Marr programme draws, rightly or wrongly, rather more attention than Channel 4 News. But if you are essentially going to set yourself up as an apologist for these men, these two men who routinely find themselves accidentally caught up in pretty toxic contexts, if you're going to set yourself up as an apologist for them, you kind of have to ignore Michael Heseltine agreeing with David Lammy. I mean, David Lammy is left-wing and black, you know? That's pretty solid grounds for an unthinking attack from certain corners of our media and our political establishment. Michael Heseltine is rich, white and right-wing. So when he says he's hearing echoes of 1930s Germany and British politics, you've got two choices. You either pay attention or you pretend you haven't heard. And if you're dedicated to the notion of trying to dismantle David Lammy for saying things that are deeply troubling, you kind of have to ignore Michael Heseltine saying very, very similar stuff last night.